Hey, Peace World. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. Um, man, you take two steps forward to take one step back, or whatever the saying is, on everything that you try to do. I just was trying to jump on earlier to talk through last night's awesome NBC Sports Network card. I really enjoyed it. And then also I got an interview coming up at 3 o'clock, a live stream that I was gonna do with this hip hop producer. And I was trying to resolve an issue with my computer to go to use Ethernet instead of Wi-Fi during interviews so that I could avoid, all the technical issues and whatnot, and not ruin any good interviews. And so I really wanted to jump on and do this to talk about last night's fight to make sure that I was good to go for the interview at 3 o'clock. Now I'm learning I gotta be able to code basically to figure out how to make my computer not acknowledge or recognize the Ethernet feed or cable. So my mind is really blown. But anyway, let me go on and get through last night's fights because I really I thought it was exciting. And I'll say this again. One thing, I have my issues with the PBC as well as Top Rank, as well as the Zone. But one thing, people get all in their feelings when you say anything about PBC. A lot of people do. And one thing that I have continued to credit them for is I felt like when the PBC came along, they made everybody step up their game. It was good, Finkley. The PBC made everybody step up its game in terms of the level of boxing that was available on cable TV. So that's ESPN, that's NBC Sports Network now. It's been some CBS sports cards out there. The Zone. I mean, I feel like PBC really raised the game for the average boxing that we get. And so last night, like I said, I have no complaints. It ended up being 4 or 5 fights on there. The headliner was Alberto, Machado, and Angel. Damn, my Spanish is bad right there. Fierro. Ended up being a phenomenal fight. It was for the World Boxing Organization's NABO lightweight title. I thought it was an excellent fight. One thing that I appreciated or respected was the fact that it was I knew who Machado was. He was supposed to fight somebody else originally. Angel Fierro came in late, I think within the last week and a half. He stepped up to take the fight. He was born in Tijuana, but resides in San Diego, according to BoxRec. And dude fought a hell of a fight. He got knocked down by 2 right hooks in the first and second rounds and looked to be out of it. I don't even know how the kid was still around, but he battled through that. Yeah, Finkley, man, I'm working on my Spanish, but it's not overnight. But Angel Fierro, he gets up. The second time I thought he was definitely out. He caught those right hooks flush. Machado is a pretty decent puncher. But the one Achilles heel for Machado is just that he doesn't have a good poker face. Like, he immediately starts showing that adversity is affecting him. Or his punch resistance just isn't all that. Let's just keep it a buck. He has chin problems. It was interesting to note that he's no longer working with Freddie Roach. But last night's card was, the theme of it was Mexico versus Puerto Rico, playing up on that long-standing rivalry between that country and that island in Puerto Rico, which is what, a U.S. territory, but that's neither here nor there. But it was a good fight, man. Machado came out again, former WBA 130-pound champion. I cannot honestly remember if he was just the super or the regular champion. I know it got a little fuzzy in there, but after stopping Yandel Evans in a brilliant short fight. He ran into Andrew Cancio and got knocked out in the first fight. Came back with the rematch, got knocked out again. But he may have, I think, at least in one or two of those fights, he dropped Cancio. Maybe that was the first one. And so that's kind of how Machado kind of got on the big stage. We haven't seen much else from Cancio since their second fight. Actually, Cancio went and got beat the hell up by Alvarado. I think that's what happened to him. But anyway, to this fight, Machado was coming back trying to reestablish himself at lightweight and looked great in the first 2 rounds. Didn't look too bad in the third round. Also, in the description, there's a link to the article, the write-up that I did from last night. So it's more detailed there. I'm gonna quickly run through this because I got to get ready for my 3:00 interview. But Fierro, like I said, he started landing some shots inside of what Machado was doing. And Machado you could see his body language changing. You could see his facial expression changing. He started to look a little less solid on his legs. And, he continued to swing for the fences. But Fierro was slowly, his momentum was, he was slowly building momentum. And, the kid was adamant that he didn't come there to be a tourist. He was coming to get the victory. Came into the fight at 17-1-1, I think 14 knockouts or something. And then we get to the end of the 5th round. And again, it was several exchanges where Machado landed some good shots, but Fierro was taking them better. And then Fierro's shots were starting to affect Machado. And Machado's, like I said, he looked like he was taking deep breaths. He looked like he started showing some doubt. And Fierro just gradually snatched the fight away from Machado. I think Machado, though, if I'm not mistaken, he did have a good rally at the end of the 5th round to make you think that it was just going to be back and forth the rest of the way. I think it was scheduled for 10 rounds. With the NABO title on there, it might have been a 12-round fight scheduled for that. But I thought it was going to be back and forth the rest of the way. We get into the 6th round, and both guys came out doing some work in the center of the ring. And then it was like Machado had had enough, and then he went to back out, take a walk. But Fierro followed him out and stayed with the pressure, went to Machado's body quite a bit. And Machado just he just backed out without his hands up, not being defensively responsible. And this sweeping left hook catches Machado. He never saw it. And he was out before he hit the floor. You could see when his body was like that, like maybe like that, he was out of it. And then he crashed to the floor pretty hard, was up underneath that bottom rope, and just really couldn't manage to do a whole lot to try to get back to his feet and continue to fight. And awesome celebration from Fierro. Shout out to him, man. It kind of reminded me the one cat. His name is like Renee Tellez, but he upset the Olympian on PBC, Carlos something. I cannot think of dude. I want to think of dude's name, but Renee Tellez was brought in as an opponent for Carlos. I gotta know that dude's name, man. Sorry, but because that was a good fight on the PBC, and I haven't seen the Olympian cat. He was like a big deal. See if I can find dude's name real quick. He had like 3 or 4 names. Some of the Mexican fighters, when you try to box rank, they had like 3 or 4 names. Damn, I can't find it. Carlos. I cannot even think of what dude's name is. His last name. PBC. It was the same situation where it's not Velasquez. Balderas, that's his name, Carlos Balderas. He was an Olympian and a hot prospect for a prospect for PBC, and they got him knocked out. Damn, even his name didn't show up. My bad, man. I'm just trying to. That was a hell of a fight. Why I'm bringing it up. Sometimes they spell Carlos with the K, and then sometimes I see it with the C, but I'm not able. Let me try one more time. Here it is. Yeah, his nickname is with the K, but Carlos Balderas out of Santa Maria, California. Yeah, Juan Rene Tellez back in December of 2019. He got knocked out in the 6th round. Balderas was down in the 3rd and then down twice in the 6th round, I want to say. And I haven't seen much from Rene Tellez, but I think he just fought this week, ironically. And this fight kind of reminded me of that. Actually, he didn't. He didn't just fight, unless it was one of those fights in Mexico that they didn't join UGC Flame channel. It's a cool chat, bro. I'll look into it. I'll look into that. But yeah. Anyway, I don't know if you remember that fight, man, between Carlos Balderas and Juan Rene Tellez, but it was a PBC fight. And Balderas, like I said, with his Olympic pedigree and all of that type of stuff and all of the hype that was around him, he was a hot asset for the PBC, and he got knocked out. And this kind of reminded me of that. Moving on to the let's talk about that women's fight real quick. Maricela Cornejo against Alma Ibarra. They fought at middleweight, but they mentioned there that Ibarra was coming up from from a lower weight class, and honestly, and then after the victory, she plans on going back down to welterweight. Cornejo, I've seen her several times. She had 2 fights with Finkley said I couldn't find the fights last night, but I picked Machado. That was a good fight up into the KO. Yeah, I was gonna do I was actually gonna do earlier in the week. I was gonna do a live stream and just check in and just talk about the schedule and how to find the fights. But again, I realized that I was kind of wasting my time doing that shit. Nobody really cares about anything but like 4 boxers. So me coming on trying to talk about the schedule and what to look for really was I was just talking to myself. So I'm only really doing boxing on Sunday morning, except for now because I'm off today. But I'd seen Cornejo fought Franchon Cruz Dezern twice. Didn't look good in either one of those fights, in my opinion. And honestly, she seems like she doesn't like to get punched in the face. I'm not saying that fighters should like that, but if you give an obvious reaction away to when people get up in your face and when they crowd you and when they make you uncomfortable, you're going to have a hard time being a professional boxer. I give her all the credit in the world for continuing to step into the ring, for facing Franchon Cruz Dezern 2 times. I know sometimes when you're critical of people and you're critical of fighters, even if you're critical of rappers, when you say stuff about people's favorites, people don't listen to why you said what you said. They just think that you're hating. I'm not hating on Maricela Cornejo. I just think she doesn't handle punches all that well. And here she was letting a smaller fighter really bully her. And really, and I'm sometimes I'm justified in what I say because Cornejo's corner was upset with her because they were seeing the same thing. She repeatedly let this smaller fighter come in and bull her way in and take this fight away from her. And it was a winnable fight for Cornejo. And sometimes, man, I don't know how you watch it, but sometimes you'll see fighters who are professional fighters, but for some reason or another, when they get in fights, they don't do what it takes to win, or they don't follow instructions, they don't execute, for whatever reason or another, you see that very often. And I just think Cornejo, she fights. She's a boxer, but for some reason, when she gets in the ring, she's not able to pull out what they worked on in camp. And this was a winnable fight for her. And she's a 3-time world challenger. And she let Ibarra just beat her up. And shout out to Ibarra, because she had a beautiful jab. Her left jab was anytime that Cornejo tried to do a little bit of something, because her corner wanted her to be first. She was waiting the entire 8 rounds. And Ibarra was shooting that overhand right repeatedly, having good success with that. And then and I noticed this too, she was walking in, Cornejo was walking to her left, going into Ibarra's overhand right. And the corner was like, move to your right, start circling to your right, go away from her power hand. And the next round, I think it was the 3rd round, Cornejo still was going to her left. And I was like, she just doesn't want to listen. So, you get what you get. So I don't know what's going on. She was a little bit taller than Ibarra. She was the more experienced fighter than Ibarra. But she allowed herself to get beat up. I want to say Ibarra won. Did she win 80-72 on all 3 cards? Again, check in the description. I got an article out there on bitedownboxing.com. But I thought it was a pretty interesting fight, man. And I just liked Ibarra's story. Again, she was coming up a couple of weight classes, using this opportunity to better her life and advance her career. And she took down a well-known name and will get a shot at a bigger fight moving forward. And I wouldn't mind seeing Ibarra against she called out Jessica McCaskill, who you saw last week on the DAZN app against defending her undisputed title at welterweight by beating Cecilia Brækhus a 2nd time. So I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. If Ibarra can go back down from 160 to get to 147 and make that fight happen, the way that she was able to fight very well with her jab and execute her game plan. I've been saying the same thing about McCaskill. McCaskill is all action, not a lot of style, not a lot of aesthetics, not a lot of beautiful boxing. She's rough though, and she just lets her hands go. I got Maurice Hooker tomorrow. I just hope he isn't going to let his right hand down. I'm with you, Finkley. I don't really have a dog in that fight, to be honest with you. I just want to see a good fight. I would like to see Hooker if it's meant for him to go on and get back into contention. I'm good with that. But I'm kind of looking at this fight in what I saw with Jose Ramirez and Hooker. And Hooker started out pretty good in that fight, and for some reason he just went away from all of his advantages and allowed Ramirez to take care of him. So I'm just gonna watch that one, man. If Ortiz is what he's hyped to be, what they think he is, and if if Hooker doesn't use that length and doesn't, because he has the length of like a heavyweight to be a welterweight, his reach is like a heavyweight's reach. So if he chooses not to use that, if we don't see any big improvement in him being in camp with Bomac and Bud Crawford and that whole group that works out with what is it, B&B Boxing Academy or whatever it is. So if there's no improvement in him, in being under the tutelage of Brian McIntyre, then Virgil Ortiz will move on to possibly line up a fight with Bud. What else? So yeah, like I said, I wouldn't mind seeing Ibarra against McCaskill. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing Ibarra against Claressa Shields at junior middleweight at 154 pounds. I just want to see Claressa in against somebody that I've seen before they step in the ring against Claressa. That's really all I want to see. Quit going out and fight. And I know Dacaire was a reigning world champion. I know, I get all that. I had never seen her before. So now that I've seen Ibarra, And actually, Claressa picked Ibarra to beat Cornejo. I saw that online before the fight. What else on there? The Angel Acosta against Gilberto Mendoza. Acosta used to be a light flyweight champion until he got beat up by Elwin Soto and lost his title. And that was a 12th round stoppage. I think it was on DAZN. I'm pretty sure it was on DAZN. And I like Acosta. Good power, good all around boxer. He beat Mendoza. Mendoza was 17-9-3 going into the fight. I thought it was a good fight, but Mendoza just didn't have a lot of answers for Acosta was clearly had the better class, the better pedigree, former world champion. It was a one-sided fight. It was only 8 rounds, but I thought that was great for Ring City Boxing, the brand, to have 2 former champions on their show in Machado and Angel Acosta. So again, I want to see quality fights if it's possible. I know all the big time fights are extremely difficult to make. So for a lot of us boxing fans, this is the best that we're going to get. My ideal situation for Claressa Shields is rematch Hannah Gabriel and then Savannah Marshall. Then she can cruise off into the sunset. Well said, bro. Yeah, I think that going down to welterweight is a pipe dream, to be honest with you. I really don't have a lot of interest in McCaskill and Claressa Shields based on McCaskill's style. I don't see her being all that successful. She would try though. She would compete, but she's just not she's not skillful enough, in my opinion, to fight with Claressa. It might not be a bad fight at the end of the day, but it's not a fight that I'm dying to see. Katie Taylor, I don't see her going up. I don't really see that fight materializing. Hannah Gabriel, the first time was a pretty decent fight. Maybe if it's in a neutral location, maybe it's some more interest there. I don't hate that fight, and it might be, a necessary for Claressa to run that back. Could be. But I'm with you. Savannah Marshall is where Claressa needs to go. I just think, unfortunately, she came along at a time when the women's game is not set up for anybody above welterweight. Really, anybody above junior welterweight. It gets very thin up there. I wouldn't mind seeing Claressa and Ellen Cietarus, who's up at super middleweight. I don't know if she wants to go back up that high, but Cietarus and Alicia Napoleon was a good fight. Cietarus is like 6. She's either 5'11" or higher. And she dropped Alicia Napoleon Espinosa at least once. I know she caught her with a big punch, had her nose all bloody. So I guess I wouldn't mind seeing Cietarus either. But that's who it comes down to, is her and Savannah Marshall. And then, like you said, Finkley, you could throw that Hannah Gabriel fight in there. So yeah, Acosta took care of Mendoza. The other good fight, that was a damn good fight, I think it was the opener. Jose Martinez of Puerto Rico against Israel Gonzalez. They fought at super flyweight. Gonzalez last time out was in December against Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. Israel Gonzalez started this fight out beautifully, man. He was boxing well, moving well, working up and down, nice jab. Israel looked good. And then Martinez just started walking him down. This fight ended up in a majority draw. Gonzalez won one of the cards, and the other 2 were, I think, 95-95. It was a good fight. Martinez just didn't have a lot of plan B and plan C to his game. He really just walked forward, throwing big shots. And during the times when Gonzalez got off of his toes and allowed him to close in on him and get close to him, especially when he was into the ropes, that's where Gonzalez lost the fight. But Gonzalez was the better boxer. He just didn't have the power to really keep Martinez off of him so that he could work cleanly. And then Martinez he had good power, but he couldn't stop Gonzalez. But I like what I saw from Gonzalez, especially coming off of the fight with him and Chocolatito. So that was a good one. Unfortunately, no winner in the fight. But for good boxing on a Thursday night, I enjoyed the hell out of that fight. The other fight that was on there was Joseph Ward from Ireland. He was 2-1 coming into this fight against Marco Delgado. This was a light heavyweight matchup. Joseph Ward was an Irish Olympian. These two fought back in 2019, but Delgado got a decision because Joseph Ward had a severe lower leg injury or something. I don't know if he tore his knee up. I didn't see the first fight. I just heard about it in the coverage this week. Didn't see Israel Gonzalez, but I picked him on the fantasy prediction league. Yeah, man, I like Israel Gonzalez. Maybe not a world champion guy because of the guys that are there in front of him, and Sarisaket, Rungvisai, El Gallo, Juan Francisco Estrada, and then Chocolatito. Maybe Gonzalez can't break through to defeat any of those guys, but he boxes pretty well. I was impressed with this boxing last night. And when guys, like I was just saying with Cornejo, when she started getting punched in the face, she started turning her back a lot and just reacting weird. Machado not being, his body language changing just because he took a couple punches. I like what I saw out of Israel Gonzalez because when Martinez started landing big shots on him, he dug in and tried to fight. He fought with the guy who was a bigger puncher. And then later in the fight, he went back to his boxing, but he didn't do enough to get the clean, to get the clean decision. The light heavyweight match with Ward and Delgado. Delgado was a slugger. He was 7-1 coming into the fight, hadn't fought a lot of good fighters. And he just was there to mix it up and make it dirty. A lot of shoving, a lot of haymakers, a lot of rabbit punches when possible. I would have liked to have seen Ward control, because Ward was like 2 or 3 inches taller than Delgado. And being that he was an Olympian, I would have liked to see a little more boxing out of him. But he kind of just, as a southpaw, he was hitting him with his right jab, with his jab, and then throwing some left hands, but mainly singles. And then he kind of was throwing like it wasn't a hook, but it wasn't an uppercut, but it was to the body. I don't know, maybe he could have bent over a little bit more and set that punch up. Maybe he was throwing an uppercut from too far away, but it was a weird hybrid punch that he kept throwing to the body of Delgado, and it was catching him like beneath his chest, but not quite down in his stomach. It was a weird looking punch, but he kept landing it on Delgado. But like I said, he could have been a little closer when he was throwing it. Maybe it would have had greater impact. He had some moments where it looked like he rocked Delgado. Delgado got tired pretty easily. Like I said, he was a brawler, slugger guy, and he ended up losing the fight by a wide margin. It was just it was a swing bout that was on there actually. So I think we got 5 fights total last night. Good card from Ring City. Like I said, the article was out there if you check in the description. I just wanted to jump on and chop it up about it real quick. Again, I'm getting ready to go live at 3 o'clock with this producer that I want to talk to. So I was supposed to jump on here earlier, but I was trying to troubleshoot something with my Ethernet cable versus Wi-Fi. It's a disaster. Anyway, man, good fights this weekend. Like Finkley was just mentioning, Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Maurice Hooker. The weigh-in, probably missed it already, but the weigh-in was earlier yesterday, press conference. I like Hooker. I really like Hooker. I don't know if he's elite. I mean, he is a former world champion, but I think it's a damn good test for Virgil Ortiz. Shout out to Golden Boy for moving. That was a way better card from last week from Ring City. Yeah, it was. Top to bottom, it was. Top to bottom, it was. Next week, they actually have another show on Thursday night. It's Amanda Serrano. I don't know if she's the main event or not, but that's the one that they advertise, so I'm assuming she is. But yeah, man, I like Ring City. I won't say one thing, but I like Ring City. But yeah, this week it's on the zone. Virgil Ortiz, Maurice Hooker. I might come back on. Man, that's tomorrow. What day? My week is all messed up. My schedule is all messed up. Anyway, man, enjoy that card. Actually, Okoli and Glowacki or whatever are also fighting on the zone at like, and then it's a big weekend. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. on ESPN Plus, you have super light heavyweight Artur Beterbiev against Danis. That's out there. So it is pretty good action this weekend on all platforms. No Showtime, no Fox Sports. So that's DAZN, and then ESPN Plus is where you can get all your fights this weekend. I'm gonna jump on Sunday late morning and recap what I can. And that's that. Let me get on out of here, man. I got to get ready for this other interview. Have a great day. Enjoy this weekend. And yes, Beterbiev is a monster. A monster. Enjoy it all, man. Thanks for checking in, Finkley, man. I appreciate you. I'll check out that the channel that you mentioned too.